Were you ever that one in a million? If so, what's your story? I had 8 wisdom teeth. The dentist had never seen anything like it and called the whole office in to marvel at my teeth. Geez, I think that getting 2 removed is bad enough. I hope it wasn't 8 wisdom teeth all at once. They'd probably have to break your entire head open if they actually had to go 4 layers back. I was struck by lightning while talking on a landline. This was in the early 90s. Lightning struck the telephone line and traveled through the handset to my ear. My parents drove me to the ER. I couldn't talk very well. My brain knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth didn't want to say it. I had a terrible stutter. My doctor told me that I had a dose of good old-fashioned electroshock therapy. My speech was normal the next day, but I get a terrible headache whenever a thunderstorm comes through. Man, that kinda sucks. You would think you'd be safe from being struck by lightning by being inside, but the lightning managed to find a way to get to you in your house. I slept wrong one night and pinched a nerve in my neck so severely that I lost the right side of my body. It just went silent, like it wasn't there for months. I woke up in the worst pain I'd ever experienced and couldn't talk, move, or do anything. The ER doctor thought I was having a stroke. My doctor had never seen a case as severe as mine, and it was purely a freak accident. Recovery took months, but I have use of my leg and hand again, with some numbness. Other than pain and spasms, I'm mostly back to normal. You know, I came up with a saying a little while ago that was something like, there is absolutely no way that you can spend your day to guarantee a 0% chance of death. And as we can see, even when you're sleeping in your bed, you're not completely safe. Not sure if this was a blessing or a curse, but I'm an extremely tall human. 7'3". Not sure how rare that is. Well, I've heard a statistic that if you are over 7 feet tall, there's a 13% chance that you'll end up in the NBA. I think that statistic is just another way of saying that at least 13% of all people over 7 feet are in the NBA. And the NBA only has a few hundred people, so multiply that by about 8, and yeah, that's only about a few thousand people in the US that are over 7 feet tall. I have completely unexplained hearing loss in my left ear. I had a cyst in it when I was 6, and the surgery to remove it and fix the ear was successful. When I was about 12, I woke up one morning with a killer headache and ear ringing. After 3 days, it went away, and so did my hearing. Doctors did multiple examinations and an MRI, and they said it should be totally functional. It just isn't. 1 in a million case. Man, I wasn't expecting almost every story in this to be a 1 in a million bad things happen to you. For my 7th birthday, we went to Disneyland. They just happened to be having a car a day giveaway when we were there. For my 7th birthday, Mickey Mouse gave me a Pontiac Firebird. Yeah, see, whenever it comes to like random lottery giveaways, for the person that's giving it out, it doesn't seem like anything special, where they're just like, alright, we're gonna give a prize to one random person. But then to the person that wins that thing, it seems like the biggest deal ever. I once guessed a 6-digit random combination on the first try. It was the only try I planned to give, as a kind of scratch pad whatever moment. You know, so far I think this is the most accurate 1 in 1 million chance thing of happening, because you have a 1 in 1 million chance of guessing a number between 1 and a million. I was in 2 separate car crashes in 2 separate cars in less than 45 minutes apart. What were you doing, jumping over the driver and covering his eyes? I was so freakishly allergic to ant and bee venom as a child that a single sting from a single little common black ant put me into anaphylactic shock. When my allergist was preparing to start immunotherapy for me, he found that the in-office lab equipment wasn't sensitive enough to measure the infinitesimally small amount of allergen with which to start my titration, so we had to send a sample of my blood to Johns Hopkins so that their lab could determine how much to give me. I did immunotherapy for several years to reach an immune response level at which it would be safe for me to basically exist in a non-frozen climate. Good news though, I'm good now. I've had a few run-ins with ants and wasps since my immunotherapy, and my body didn't freak out and shut down. And research indicates that if it hasn't done that after this long, I'm probably safe for maybe forever. I don't have EpiPens, and I'm not overly afraid of ants or bees. Maybe you need to put it to the test and just try eating some ants. But to be honest, I didn't even know that ants had venom, or a stinger, or anything like that. My ex was struck by lightning several times and lived. Died in a car accident though, so not as lucky as he claimed to be. Well, someone or something clearly wanted him gone. I was on Tinder and was talking to this guy. He was supposed to meet me for dinner. I texted him and no answer. Then I texted him on Tinder, said that he couldn't make it. However, I got a text back from the number. It wasn't the guy that I thought I texted. It was the actor Gerard Butler. I thought he was lying until he FaceTimed me. Nice guy. Oh well, that's cool. Did you get to take him on a date then? Not sure about the odds on this one, but I survived a non-survivable plane crash. I was on an old PO-2, famous for being very safe and uncrushable, on a tour of the desert in western China when I was like 7. My father's friend who hosted me and piloted the plane didn't survive, but somehow I got out with a concussion and apparently passed out for almost a day in the middle of the desert. In the wreckage of the crash, 50 kilometers from the town and airport, on the edge of the desert. The people who found me were some tree planters. They plant greens in the desert to protect towns from sandstorms. A lot of people that live in these desert towns in China do this. They found me on their way picking up a shipment, and the only reason they looked was because they were making a bet on how fast the egg would cook in the sand, and went off the road to test. Okay, so you know how everyone always uses the statistics of like, oh, you're more likely to die in a car accident than in a plane crash. And I mean, I'm not going to argue with that, because obviously people drive way more than they fly, and only people who are very qualified are ever flying, so there's less likely chance that you're going to crash. But I'm willing to bet that the survival rate in car crashes is a lot higher than the survival rate in plane crashes. I'm allergic to the cold. Like literally. I get intense hives, swelling, I pass out, and throw up. Doesn't even have to be freezing. Below 45 degrees without a jacket and I can't do it. I have to carry an EpiPen with me in the event that I drink something too cold or have a severe reaction. Well, at least there's plenty of warm places out there to move to that be away from the cold. You guys might have noticed lately that I've been having my blanket on my chair. That's because it just randomly got super cold lately and went from like 70s down to like 40s just instantly, and we got our first snow today. I was actually homeless for 4 years between 19 and 23 years old. As silly as it sounds, I used to earn some extra money at the time by helping around in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. It was my biggest hobby when I was younger and was something I felt confident about. I also didn't have a passport or a bank account, so I couldn't get a normal job. Anyway, so at the time I was stuck not earning any money, without a passport or bank account or a real job. In the UK, you won't get hired by 99% of companies if you don't have a passport to prove you have the right to work. So one day I got a phone call from a studio asking if I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And would consider myself a geek. Also if I wanted to be in a TV show. They said they would send me to another country as part of it. Being homeless, the biggest problems is being bored, so naturally I said yes, but told them that I don't have a passport. No problem, we'll get you one straight away and pay for it ourselves. I ended up on a show called Geeks that you can still watch on Channel 4 OD. Because I got this passport, I was finally able to get a job, a bank account, and finally a house. Now I'm looking at my 10-month-old daughter who's playing while I type this. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Saved me from being homeless. I might be an anime character. So I'm guessing that the 1 in a million part was just that the studio just decided to randomly call you out of nowhere asking if you were into something that you were really into. Is that how TV shows find people to be on them? They just look through the phone book and just dial random numbers till they find somebody that's interested? The first one I don't know about the exact odds, but I was born on 7/7/77 and weighed 7 pounds and 7 ounces. Sadly though, I clocked in at 6:50 a.m. Well, that's okay, there's no 7:77 a.m. anyway. I was diagnosed with leukemia. I got a bacteria growth which killed the leukemia. A real 1 in a million chance. So one health effect can destroy another? Maybe someone should just try getting every kind of terminal illness at the same time, and see if all of the viruses and bacteria just kill each other. Then maybe you could be immune to everything after that. This is my mom's story, and I've posted it before, but she once called her friend, back in the day on the landline, and another lady answered. My mom asks if her friend was there, and the lady says, "Sure, I'll get her." My mom's friend hops on the phone and asks, how did she know she was here? Turns out my mom got the wrong number when dialing, called a random house where someone was hosting a Tupperware party, and my mom's friend just happened to be attending it. What are the odds of that? Man, see, with cell phones now, we don't really get to enjoy weird stories like this. But I sure don't miss the times where the house phone is ringing and someone yells, "Pick up the phone!" And you're like, it's not going to be for me, I'm just going to have to hand it off to someone else anyway. When I was a kid, I was chilling in the water of the Mediterranean Sea in Turkey. Suddenly, I felt an awful burning sensation on my stomach and legs. I looked like I'd been brutally sandpapered and got a 104-degree fever. Turns out I made contact with a jellyfish, and later found out that it hadn't happened on that beach for 10 years or so. It was just extremely unlucky. Man, jellyfish are weird. They're probably one of the most alien-type creatures on the planet. Like, you ever notice they don't even have any real features? They don't have eyes or a face or anything? I mean, they're hardly even solid objects, and yet they can kill you if you even go close to them. How I met my wife. I'm from the Netherlands, she is from the US, we met in Israel. It was my first weekend in Israel, decided to go to a pub crawl to meet some people and have fun. As I'm buying the ticket, my now wife walks up to the counter to also buy a ticket. The girl working there introduces us. We hit it off the first night, but I'm leaving in 2 days to stay with friends of friends in the middle of the desert for 3 months. 2 days after I leave, I lose my phone. I don't have any way to get back in touch with her. I had little money and could stay and work with the people in the desert. But I kept thinking about her, so after a week I say I'm leaving. I take the next bus, which only goes 3 times a week at 5 a.m., and then a train to Tel Aviv. I had no idea how to find her, where to stay, and very little money. I emailed a couple hostels to find a work-stay agreement. Those jobs are very popular and usually planned months in advance. I get an email back when I arrive in Tel Aviv. I can come in for an interview because they have a spot. This is already ridiculously lucky. Right after the interview and dropping of my belongings, I went back to the first hostel to see if they would give me information. They wouldn't give me anything. Now I'm at a loss. Tel Aviv is a city of more than 500,000 people. I don't know anyone and have little more than the clothes on my back. Kind of defeated, I started wandering around and exploring the city. After a couple hours I get hungry and decide to treat myself to a restaurant. I'm well out of the tourist area and find a place that's almost empty and rather cheap. I sit down, order a drink and something to eat. As I get my food, I see my now wife walking past the restaurant. She sees me and I see her. I'm literally dumbstruck and just kind of grin and wave. Remember how I lost my phone? She didn't know that and had just thought I ignored her. She waves and keeps walking. I throw like 200 shekels, way too much, in the table and sprint after her. Explained, and the rest is history. Well, that sounds like some sort of fairy tale love story, but that's all of the super 1 in a million stories we've got today. I had to skip quite a few of these stories because so many of them were just people going into detail about their weird health defects. But I think that these really strange, bizarre happenings are some of my favorite kind of stories. But that's everything for today. I do plan on releasing some scary stories. Maybe like every Saturday leading up to Halloween I'll do that. But yeah, so I'm uploading 4 times a week right now, which is more than I've done in a long time.